Blinkist.com/Pacman. That's BLINKIST.com/Pacman.
The David Pacman Show at davidpacman.com.
So we're getting this perfect storm of incompetence, arrogance, and desperation to reopen the economy from Republicans that's leading to really, really dangerous stuff. And as you know, or you may know, Donald Trump has been talking about chloroquine with azithromycin as a possible game-changing treatment or cure for coronavirus. And as I've told you, there are some serious side effects. It needs study. It has potential. But some guy in Arizona has now died after taking chloroquine phosphate, which is a fish tank cleaning product related to the ingredient in the medication. It's not the medication. I'll talk to you about that in a little bit. But we now have Fox News propagandist Sean Hannity, who's recommending a cocktail of things as a sort of prophylactic to prevent coronavirus, as much as he seems to be saying it also cures it. And it's incredibly irresponsible and dangerous for two reasons. Number one, when you imply there's a prophylactic for coronavirus, which there currently is not, there's these vague speculation based on very little data. This can get people to behave very irresponsibly and think they don't have to do physical distancing. Number two, you're actually suggesting something that can be dangerous for people to take. Check this out. Sean Hannity did it during an interview with Vice President Mike Pence last night.
Mr. Vice President, I'm holding up a letter, and I'm going to read from it in a second, from a doctor in the New York area. And if I may read from it, he has now worked with his associates, and he has a regimen, hydroxychloroquine, 200 milligrams twice a day, 5 days. Azithromycin, 500 milligrams once a day, 5 days. Zinc sulfate, 220 milligrams once a day for 5 days. This is what he has seen. Him and his team have now treated approximately 350 patients in Kairos Joel, was an area of New York that was hit particularly hard, and another 150 patients in other New York areas. His results: we have had 0 deaths, 0 hospitalizations, 0 intubations.
So he refers to a doctor in the New York area who gave this so-called regimen and treated 350 people in Curious Joel and another 150 elsewhere in New York with 0 deaths. So before we even look at the regimen, bear in mind, first of all, Curious Joel is a Hasidic Jewish community an hour north of New York City. The fact that a doctor had 350, quote, patients in Curious Joel, which has a total population of 24,000, to me that suggests, if this is even true, it's overwhelmingly young people that they are, quote, testing this on. Why do I say that? Hasidic Jews have many kids. They have a lot of kids. So when I hear this was tested on 350 people in Curious Joel, I think these are all kids and young people that would do fine anyway. Plus, it's not even clear whether this was being tested prophylactically. He may be saying a doctor in Curious Joel gave this to 350 people who didn't even have coronavirus, and they've not since gotten coronavirus. That would be very, very meaningless. And lastly, no deaths out of 350 patients is meaningless when you're dealing with a likely real death rate of under 1% anyway. So this is all very useless. But when you look at the so-called regimen, hydroxychloroquine, 200 milligrams twice a day, 5 days, azithromycin, once a day, 5 days, zinc, once a day, 5 days. Zinc sulfate is just a zinc supplement. There are a few people who say zinc is one of the few supplements that might actually help prevent the common cold, even though we're not aware of any actual common cold treatment. 1/3 of common colds are coronaviruses of sorts. Most of the benefit of taking zinc seems to be in people who are deficient in zinc in their diet. If you're getting enough zinc from your diet, it's unclear that there's much or any benefit from zinc. Then you've got hydroxychloroquine, which is a drug that you can't just get it. And unfortunately, people are stupidly thinking that the fish tank cleaner with a similar ingredient is the medication. Somebody already died in Arizona from taking that. And then, of course, you've got azithromycin, which is an antibiotic. Taking antibiotics unnecessarily isn't good for you. You also need a prescription for that. So this is just crazy and irresponsible for Sean Hannity to be talking about on Fox News as if it's anything at all, never mind something that prevents or cures coronavirus. Sean Hannity also saying last week on his radio show that he believes vaping may have a protective effect in the lungs against coronavirus. Also, no evidence of that. No good evidence of that. Very dangerous stuff coming from Sean Hannity on Fox News, and this coming during an interview with Vice President Mike Pence. Okay, let's now get into this crazy situation that we have to discuss. The guy who died supposedly from taking Trump's proposed cure for coronavirus. Donald Trump has been touting chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine as a possible cure or prevention for coronavirus. Now, it is true that chloroquine with and without azithromycin is being studied in a mega trial that the WHO is running as one of 4 possible treatments for some people. In some cases, we just don't know yet. But this has been amplified by all sorts of people around Donald Trump and Donald Trump himself. And a man has now died after obtaining and taking what he believed was the medication chloroquine, but was actually a fish tank cleaning product that shares an ingredient with chloroquine. So once again, almost all the headlines are wrong about this. A whole bunch of people are saying the guy died from getting the treatment Trump suggested. That's not true. The guy didn't take medical chloroquine, which of course you can't just buy. Got to be prescribed by doctors. It would be done so only in very specific settings where the patient would be a good candidate for that. According to this guy's widow, he kept seeing Trump and people around Trump say this could cure coronavirus, this could prevent coronavirus. So the 68-year-old went out and got chloroquine phosphate. He thought it was the medication chloroquine. Of course, it wasn't, because that medication you can't just go out and buy. The guy went out and got the fish tank cleaner. It's not a medication. And the fact that he was able to just go buy it should have been a signal that it's not the medication. The man died, and the woman is now in critical condition. Now, a bunch of people wrote to me and they said, we really shouldn't worry much about this. This is a sort of Darwin Award situation. You've got to be really dumb to do something like this. Still, we've been saying Trump talking about chloroquine like it's a game changer can only cause problems. It's not going to create any solutions. And right away, we have one such example. How insane is it that people are literally drinking chemicals on Trump's say-so out of confusion? It's not the chemical Trump suggested, right? It's reminding me, though, of Jonestown, where the phrase to drink the Kool-Aid originated.
I read the news today, oh boy.
It's time for Nicole Sandler's What's News from NicoleSandler.com and the Progressive Voices Network.
Senators and the White House reached an agreement early Wednesday on a $2 trillion package to rush government aid to families and businesses to help them get through the coronavirus crisis. The deal includes $1,200 checks for individuals who earn up to $75,000 a year and new jobless benefits, as well as money for states and businesses facing huge cuts and plummeting income due to restrictions on public activity imposed to slow the spread of the pandemic. The legislation was delayed as Democrats pressed Republicans for stronger worker protections and greater oversight of a $500 billion bailout fund for business. Here are some of the items Chuck Schumer's team says they've secured in the last few days. An extra month of unemployment insurance, $55 billion more for hospitals, $150 billion for states, localities, and tribes, $10 billion in Small Business Administration grants of up to $10,000 for small business costs, $17 billion for the Small Business Administration to cover 6 months of payments for businesses with current SBA loans, $30 billion in emergency education funding, $25 billion in transit funding, $30 billion for the Disaster Relief Fund, the ban of stock buybacks for companies that received government assistance, and real-time reporting of Treasury loans, investments, and assistance, a tax credit that would encourage employers to keep workers on the payroll, a tax exclusion for people who are receiving student loan repayment from their employer, and it also creates an inspector general and oversight committee for the corporate assistance program. all necessary elements. Schumer's office is also pointing out that they secured a provision in the agreement that will prohibit businesses controlled by the president, vice president, members of Congress, and heads of executive departments from receiving loans or investments from these Treasury programs. The children, spouses, and in-laws of the aforementioned principals are also included in this prohibition. Thank you, Democrats, for fighting for these important aspects. So both sides are hoping that a vote could come as early as late Wednesday or Thursday. The Senate is still ostensibly in session, but a number of senators are practicing self-quarantine after Senator Rand Paul tested positive. The House is on recess and members are spread around the country. Bringing them back in is unwise and unlikely, but as of now, no mechanism exists for remote voting. The only other option to pass this legislation would be through unanimous consent or a voice vote. But just one lawmaker could object to the request and it's back to square one. Stay tuned. So Donald Trump on Tuesday said that he hopes to revise national social distancing guidelines by Easter, April 12th, so that U.S. businesses can resume operations. But then he claimed that not ending the stay-at-home orders would cause more deaths than the virus itself.
You're going to lose a number of people to the flu, but you're going to lose more people by putting a country into a massive recession or depression. You're going to lose people. You're going to have suicides by the thousands. You're going to have all sorts of things happen. You're going to have instability. You can't just come in and say, let's close up the United States of America, the biggest, the most successful country in the world by far.
Why did they let this man speak? Well, here's where we stand now. Nearly a third of the world's population, 2.5 billion people, are under some sort of movement restriction related to the coronavirus. Indian Prime Minister Modi has ordered a complete lockdown for that country's 1.3 billion people to last 21 days. Italy has announced that citizens who violate quarantine rules could face jail time. In Brazil, the demand for more space to treat coronavirus patients has led cities to transform soccer stadiums into hospitals. And in Spain, an ice rink has been turned into a morgue. Meanwhile, here at home, experts fear the United States could become the next epicenter of the virus, as confirmed cases were at 55,224 as of early Wednesday morning, and the U.S. death toll at the same time stood at 802. More than half of those cases are in New York City, and the White House's coronavirus response coordinator said that anyone who recently left New York should self-quarantine for 14 days to stem the spread of the virus. And finally, we're hearing the numbers, but we also need to realize that each of those numbers represents a human life. In the last 24 hours, we've learned that Britain's Prince Charles and American singer-songwriter Jackson Browne have both tested positive. Thankfully, their symptoms are reportedly relatively mild and both are recuperating at home. And among the hundreds or thousands of lives already lost, we learned of two more: American playwright Terrence McNally and legendary African singer, songwriter, saxophonist Manu Dibango. Stay safe, everyone. And that's just a bit of what's news for now. I'm Nicole Sandler. If you appreciate these reports and the Nicole Sandler Show, I hope you'll consider making a contribution. As with everyone else, my income has been slashed drastically in recent weeks as regular donors have lost their incomes, thus suspending their donations to my show. If you can help, I hope you will. Just visit NicoleSandler.com and please click on that donate button.
Mary had a little man. The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
The World Health Organization has just said, Sanjay, that the U.S. has the potential to be the next epicenter. What, when you hear that, what is that telling you, and what should Americans be taking from that?
Well, look, we're not even, 4% of the world's population, and New York City alone, I think, has 5% of the world's coronavirus patients now who have been confirmed positive. So this is not surprising. Obviously, it's not the news that people want to hear, but I think it does add a certain sense of urgency to all these measures that are taking place. I mean, some will argue, look, we waited too long to implement these measures. That's rear view mirror sort of thinking at this point. But in terms of going forward, the idea that they need to stay in place for some time to come, I think, is really pretty clear. The numbers are not going to go down. And Brianna, as you and I have talked about, the numbers that we're seeing now are sort of a picture of what things were like, 10 to 14 days ago. Between the time someone's exposed to the time they get tested to the testing coming back, it can be 10 to 14 days. What do we think has happened over the last 10 to 14 days? Clearly, there's been more spread. We just don't don't have the testing evidence of that yet. So these numbers, this is not good news, but not surprising news that we are likely the epicenter.
America first, everybody. Oh, we did it. We're first. Yeah, it's unbelievable. But here's the good news. The good news seems to be that the leadership of New York is giving us real information based on scientific evidence and data. Who would have thunk it? Oh, my God. Evidence, data, science-y stuff and all that. So this is what I'm taking from it. That social distancing it seems to be working. Because in New York, it looked like Sunday to Monday, the hospitalizations were doubling every 24 hours. And it looks like yesterday, the hospitalizations were doubling every 3.5 days. And as of today, it looks like the hospitalizations are doubling every 4.7 or 5 days. So social distancing and isolation seems to be working for us. Now, that's good. The other thing I could tell you is that when you look at all these graphs that everybody is shoving in your face, now, Man Coulter, she reads them backwards, as you know, if you follow me on Twitter, which I urge you to do, at Randi Rhodes, because there's real facts there, okay? There's real information there. So at Randi Rhodes, thank you. But honestly, when you look at the charts and graphs, sometimes it's just like mind-blowingly, in Man Coulter's case, she can't figure. She reads them backwards. Maybe she's dyslexic, have no idea. Perhaps the surgery tainted, I don't know. But what I'm starting to understand is that we are about 10 to 12 days behind Italy, right? And that it looks as if in China, they're just about through it. So I'm looking at how it goes for other countries, how it went for other countries. Now, granted, other countries had masks for their people. Other countries had tests for their people. Other countries had, quarantines that were enforced, for their people. They call them draconian, right? But I'm looking, and China is starting to open up, and it looks like it's been between 9 and 12 weeks after Wuhan was locked down, right? After they noticed it, after they mapped the genome, after they understood it, after they isolated, after they locked down. So if that's the case, and it looks like, maybe Italy has peaked, I don't know. We'll see in the next coming days. And it also looks as if New York is starting to slow down on the hospitalizations. Then I think what we can say might be that this thing goes for another 6 to 9 weeks. Now, I realize this is not Donald Trump's wet dream of, packed churches on Easter, which is such a bizarre concept because even after a pandemic, would you really want to pack anything immediately? No, the answer would be no. I'm all about Passover, as you know, which is a few days later, where the disease passes over your house, which seems to me to be the apropos allegory, if you will, if you must, if you may, to the biblical, than the resurrection, because I don't think he understands the resurrection story at all. But Passover, is but it looks to me like California, you're about 6 to 12 days behind New York. And if that's the case, then maybe in 6 to 12 days, you will start seeing numbers that are very similar to New York City. But you've already begun isolating. And if you do it, if you actually do it, and you do the whole hygiene thing, you know what's really sad? We live in a country where we actually have to tell people to wash their freaking hands. We live in a country where children, I don't know who raised them. I don't know if they were raised by animals in the woods. But we live in a country where a kid in Missouri decided that a fun thing to do would be to go into the drugstore, well, actually it was a Walmart, and lick, no, I'm not kidding, and lick the deodorant.
Who's scared of coronavirus? Don't touch your mouth.
Okay.
Who's scared of coronavirus? Don't touch your mouth.
Who raised this animal? Whoever you are, you need to surrender to law enforcement right now and admit that you had no idea, you did not know what you were doing. Just say it. Holy crap. And we had a guy, he went viral. I can't say that anymore. We had a guy who was on the New York subway who had a mask on early and decided to lift it secretly and lick the poles. You see what I mean? So now the New Yorkers are coming down to Florida, where I am, and we've got a governor, Ron DeSantis, who doesn't give a damn and won't do anything about anything. So the mayors are having to close their cities. Obviously, the beaches were left open for spring break. The reason why Louisiana is having such a gigunda outbreak is obviously Mardi Gras. And, you know, so people that don't take it seriously are going to be the biggest drain on medical supplies, on medical workers, on you know, what can I tell you? So America first, we're the epicenter. New York looks like a ghost town. And what we're trying to do, what we're watching Cuomo do in New York is try to keep it from being an actual ghost town. Then who are you going to call? Ghostbusters, right? Right. So it's very possible that the crap will really hit the fan in New York before it gets better. But that is the best place in the world for you to try and function when the crap is hitting the fan, because, we New Yorkers, we're kind of used to the crap hitting the fan. We know just how to navigate. Because New Yorkers, I will tell you, as a species, we can muscle through anything. We can put up with anything. We've actually seen, airplanes flying into our buildings on, crisp Tuesday mornings in September. Do you know what I mean? We can do it as long as we can blame the mayor. But see, this is even better now because we can actually, with fortitude and certainty, blame the president of the United States, which is even better than blaming a mayor, which is our usual MO. Like Rudy Giuliani putting the emergency response for a terror attack on New York in the World Trade Center, like crap like that. Yeah. Well, now we get to blame Donald Trump, who loves to see people fighting each other. And he's literally pitted one mayor, one governor against another mayor and another governor by making masks and ventilators currency. Seriously, it's like the new power is having masks. It's like he's turned the availability of virus masks into gladiatorial combat for his amusement.
Clear for takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
There are a plethora of platforms for your preference, your viewing preference, your listening preference. Yes, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube. You can listen on Progressive Voices, TuneIn channels, DirecTV 348, Dish TV 9415, Free Speech, Sling, Roku, Apple TV. We are growing, but there is only one platform, only one product that delivers on-demand, filler-free, commercial-free Randi. And that is the Randi Rhodes Show podcast. Get yours and do it your way. Binge better on Randi Rhodes by visiting RandiRhodes.com and click on Buy a Stinkin' Podcast. Or Visit randyrhodes.com and click on support and support the show. That is how you support our work. That is the way that we finance ourselves. We don't take any salary from any corporate donors, nor do we take a salary from free speech. So visit randyrhodes.com today.
If you need anything from a simple home repair to a major remodel, you need to know about Home Advisor. It's a totally free service that instantly connects you with top local service pros.
Home Advisor is a very easy way to find a home contractor, and for me, it's the only way.
You can use Home Advisor for everything. Your house cleaning, your painting.
Electricians, plumbers, handymen. We've had nothing but fabulous every single time.
Just select the type of work you need done, and Home Advisor's Pro Finder technology instantly finds top pros in your area. You can read customer reviews of the pros, even use their cost guide to find out what hundreds of other repair and improvement projects cost in your area.
I think everybody should use Home Advisor. In fact, I tell everybody to use Home Advisor.
Home Advisor is a total solution to any type of work you would ever want to do around your house.
And best of all, it's completely free. Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app.
Home Advisor.
Amazingly, America has become a nation of socialists, asking in dismay, where's the government? These are not born-again Bernie Sanders activists, but everyday people of all political stripes, including previously apolitical multitudes who are now clamoring for big government intervention in their lives. Nothing like a spreading coronavirus pandemic to bring home the need that all of us have, both as individuals and as a society, for an adequately funded, fully functioning, competent government capable of serving all. Instead, in our moment of critical national need, Trump's government has been a rickety medicine show run by a small-minded flim-flammer peddling laissez-fairyland snake oil. We have it totally under control, Trump pompously declared after the first U.S. case was confirmed in January. For weeks, as the pandemic spread out of control, he did nothing. An increasingly anxious public found that they couldn't even get reliable test kits from Trump's hollowed-out government health agencies. Still, he shrugged off all concern and responsibility. By April, in theory, he said, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. Not exactly a can-do Rooseveltian response to a national crisis. That complete absence of White House leadership is why a deadly pathogen is now raging practically everywhere across our land. Unknown millions of us are being infected. A closed indefinitely sign has literally been hung on the American economy, and even our people's social and civic interactions, the essence of community life, have been halted. This is Jim Hightower saying, right-wing politico Grover Norquist once said he wanted a government so small I can drag it into the bathroom and drown it in the bathtub. Trump has shown us what such a small-minded government looks like and what it costs.
Oh! All things Randy at randyrhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
It's tricky, though, when you try and turn the faucet back on.
It's very tricky.
New York could be different from Utah. Louisiana could be different from Arizona. So how do you go about making that decision?
Well, you have to make the decision. Look, we lose thousands. I brought some numbers here. We lose thousands and thousands of people a year to the flu.
Oh, my God.
We don't turn the country off, every year. Now, when I heard the number, we average 37,000 people a year. Can you believe that? And actually, this year, we're having a bad flu season. But we lose thousands of people a year to the flu. We never turned the country off. We lose much more than that to automobile accidents.
Oh, my God.
We didn't call up the automobile company to say, stop making cars. We don't want any cars anymore. We have to get back to work now.
He's an idiot. And here's why, okay? If you had 1,000 car accidents a day, and then the next day you had 2,000 car accidents a day, and then the next day you had 4,000, and it kept doubling and doubling. Same with the flu, okay? Same with the flu. If the cases kept doubling and the hospitals were overwhelmed, then wouldn't you think something went horribly wrong? He's such a doofus. This man is just an idiot, okay? And thank God we have Democratic governors who are taking control of their populations. The sad and sick thing is that Donald Trump truly loves to see people fight each other, and that's why he sets up multiple power centers inside the White House. Like Mick Mulvaney has to slug it out with Mark Meadows now, these two bastions of ethics and intellect, right? But now instead of having people fight for power, he's making entire states fight for ventilators. He's making entire states fight for surgical masks. Surgical masks and ventilators, they've become currency now. And literally the Federalist Society, they put out a tweet today that the whole freaking internet lit up. They're saying that old people should volunteer to be infected. And I don't know, do they just want us to die? I don't know what to do. And so many people are ready to go. It's really pretty sick. Glenn Beck is ready to go. He told his audience he's ready to go. Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, why not? We could go. Trump is like, well, we lose thousands anyway. Why not lose more? Are you insane? It is the virus that is shutting down businesses. It is the virus, not old people. This is just, there's a reason we have a federal government. It's to prevent chaos. But that's all this man seeks to do, is create it. This is probably how he raised his kids, where Eric had to beat up Junior, to play with his Fisher-Price xylophone. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just so, and that's why they're dysfunctional, psychotics. The whole freaking family. Meanwhile, everyone is pitted against everyone else. And check this out, it's driving the price of everything up. It's literally driving the price of everything up. Now, if America had a leader, a real one, we would have tests. He tweeted out this morning, we're doing more tests in South Korea. Every single newspaper, every single news outlet, every single chart, the CDC itself. If you go to the CDC, okay, and that's why I say, if you follow me on Twitter, you know that I tweeted him back with the cdc.gov website, right? And if you click on the testing portion of the CDC website, there's no information. There's nothing. There's no information about how many or where they are or where to go, or there's nothing. There's absolutely no thing there. It's just the sickest thing. Everybody's having to rely on Johns Hopkins for death numbers, for hospitalization numbers, for all these things, We do know death is doubling every 24 hours in places like Spain. You know why? Because their hospitals are overrun. So people are dying from things that have nothing to do with COVID. People are dying from, appendicitis. People are dying from, needing a stent. People are dying from very preventable reasons. And it's because the hospitals are inundated, and they don't have anything to tend to the less severe but still deadly, situations. Cuomo said on the TV, what kind of Darwinian experiment is he running here? Everybody yesterday, I told you our show was called Death Cult 45 because that is what it's become, right? And now everybody's repeating it. They're invoking all my movies, Soylent Green and all those things. Good, keep on saying it because that is what this man is doing. Cuomo said, what is going on? What is this Darwinian experiment?
Yeah, my mother is not expendable. And your mother is not expendable. And our brothers and sisters are not expendable. And we're not going to accept a premise that human life is disposable. And we're not going to put a dollar figure on human life. The first order of business is save lives, period, whatever it costs. Now, I also don't believe it's an either or. I believe you can have an intelligent, refined public health strategy. You talk about risk stratification. You can have people go to work. You can test people.
Hello.
and find out that they are resolved from the virus, let them go back to work. You can have younger people go back to work. You can have an economic startup strategy that is consistent with the public health strategy. It's smart, it's complicated, it's sophisticated, but that's what government is supposed to do, right? That whole concept of develop government policy and program. You can do both, but not in a clumsy, ham-handed way.
Which is all Trump knows, is to be clumsy and ham-handed and create chaos. Take that ham hand and stir the pot. Just stir it, and put everyone in everybody's, at everybody's throat, and drive the prices of things way up. Masks. Big hospital systems like 7-10 hospitals in a group, which is bizarre. Owned by hedge funds and stuff like that. But that they would be able to buy masks for, 50 cents a mask. $15 now. $15 for a mask. People are going and asking nail salons and construction companies to donate their masks for the frontline healthcare workers. How freaking sick is this? And why? Why? Because Idiot Boy refused, this is going back to the very beginning of all this, refused the World Health Organization's offer of tests. We still don't know where the tests are. All we know is people that are in the hospital, people who are hospitalized, may now be able to get a test. Everybody else is being told, go home, monitor yourself, wait till you don't have a fever anymore, and then wait 3 more days. This is the advice we're getting. Go home. Go home. Isolate. And people are going home, but they have children. They have husbands. And now everybody's having to become an expert in sanitary and disinfection and protection, self-protection, and holy crap.
Clear for takeoff. The Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Hello, Herky Jerky fans. Just a reminder that this month's March special is still going on. $10 off orders of $50 or more. Free shipping. Yes, it's included. No promo code is needed. Buy anything from the online store, including the beef smokies, game sticks, bacon jerky, all natural turkey or nitrite and preservative-free beef jerky, and delicious venison, elk, and buffalo. One of the things I've always enjoyed about Herky Jerky is that all their products come in bulk size packs anywhere from 12 ounces to 1.5 pounds. Long-lasting snacking, whether you're doing a high-protein, low-fat diet, doing some outdoor activities, or taking a long drive in the car. And now, coronavirus on everybody's mind, no better time to stock up on sustainable foods. Most of Herky Jerky's products have at least 1 year shelf life, and once the packages are open, freeze them. They'll stay good for even longer. Jerky is one of the best foods that preppers can buy, and if you're going to stock up, you might as well do it with a delicious product and save some money. So order online at herkyjerky.com or call 215-479-6280 for phone orders.
Here's what's happening on the Leslie Marshall Show on the Progressive Voices Network. My husband's an orthopedic surgeon, and he is having to tell people that are hurt and have torn ACLs or meniscus tears, you got to wait 30 to 60 days for your surgery. He is telling me that the hospitals are frightened because in 3 weeks, they're not going to have enough beds for everybody. They don't have enough healthcare professionals for the rate this is growing. This is a reality. This is not the media hyping this up. This is not a Democratic hoax. This is real. This is real. The fact that the president doesn't stand 6 feet from all the people around him on that podium is not a leader leading by example or taking it seriously. We have leaders out there, whether it's governors, mayors, or other Republican politicians, telling people to go eat at Bob Evans. I'm going to take my family out to dinner, to the restaurant. Even the mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, shame on him, he went to the gym. You have to lead by example. There are so many models that show what social distancing do. Look, I have 2 kids who are going to start homeschooling tomorrow. They're home, okay? They're outside in the yard playing with the neighbor's kids. They've washed their hands. There are 3 kids with my 2, 5, not touching. It's not fun. And yesterday it was pouring rain. Many of us are working from home. Some people can't. Some people won't have money coming in. We're going to get 1 or 2 checks from the government. We don't know how much that's going to be, when it is, how long it's going to keep going. This has been a screwed up misstep every step of the way. Now, there are people now that say the administration is starting to do a good job. New York Governor Cuomo has mentioned that today. Even my governor in the state of California, Gavin Newsom, has mentioned the Trump administration has been excellent, and that's as of now. So we don't need to go back and cry over spilt milk. But the problem is we were ill-equipped as a leader in the free world, by the way. One of the reasons is because, people say, oh, there wasn't funding denied, that, Congress overrode what the president wanted in one respect, but there were other areas when we didn't respond to Ebola that had preventative pandemic emergency medical service areas cut. Now, there are missed warning signs, many. The outbreak began late last year, experts believe. They believe it happened in a seafood market in Wuhan, China. There are a lot of conspiracy theories. There is a bio lab in Wuhan, China. This did not come from our military or theirs. Could somebody have worked in that lab and got out and had some kind of coronavirus? It's possible. There are people that say in that fish market, somebody bought a bat, a rat, or even fish. Who knows? Tune in Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern to hear me, Leslie Marshall, on the Progressive Voices Network. And make sure to follow us both on Twitter. The handle for Progressive Voices is at ProgVoice, PROGVOICE. My handle.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randy, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
A month ago, the CDC had an initial test that failed. At that moment, late February, you said it's perfect. And it wasn't perfect. So what happened there in the early stages in late February?
What I said is perfect was my conversation with the head of the Ukraine. That's what I really said is perfect.
My
okay,
God.
that was another whole scandal, nonsense, a total, witch hunt. But this one is a much different thing. We had other administrations, not just the last one, they built up a platform. They built up a test. But the test was no good. It didn't handle large numbers of people. It was okay for a very small group, but not for a large group.
He doesn't know
so
what
we had to break it
talking
down.
about.
Did the CDC screw up, or did you screw up?
No, we did not screw up.
Where did this
And
go
I don't
wrong?
think CDC screwed up either. They had a test that would have worked for a small group of people.
What?
In other words, for a normal problem. I don't think anybody could have, in all fairness to CDC, and this is a big government agency, and they're very good people in there, but nobody ever expected a thing like this. Nobody would say that millions and millions of people would have been tested. So what we did is we broke that egg. We broke that system, and we've created a new system that now we're doing unbelievably big numbers, and it's set for the future should we ever need it again. I hope we don't need it again.
Where are the tests? Where are the tests? He just lies. He lies and lies and lies. Oh, well, nobody ever. You know what? Bill Gates knew. Bernie Sanders knew. You want to hear Bernie Sanders back in 2005? This idea that nobody could know and there was no heads up and China lied and this is just garbage. The man lied from day one when it became obvious that there was a contagion in this universe. The heads up came in late January, February, March. It's 2 months later. We still don't know where the tests are. We don't know where they are. We have no idea what he's talking about. He keeps saying, we've tested more people in South Korea. No, we haven't. And the only people that are able to get tests have to have a prescription from a doctor, and then they're standing in line. I mean, and most people are hospitalized. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. I don't understand how anybody, could step up to this microphone and be so strong and wrong. And people just say, good, it's good. It's a good, I mean, what happened to the test that China, we got 500,000 sent from China. Yesterday we found out Jack Ma, who, was the chairman of Alibaba, which is, the Chinese version of Amazon, sent us 500,000. Where are the tests? How is it possible that an asymptomatic senator, Rand Paul, got a test? And that while he was waiting for the results of the test, this doctor went to the gym the Senate gym and put his mark on every, like a dog marked his territory, went swimming in the pool. I mean, how is it possible that NBA players are getting tested? How is it possible that, and Trump said to the American people, swear to God, well, maybe that's how life goes. Maybe that's how